All right. So, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining today's session. This will be the final session of day one. And today we have here the School of Science representatives. So, we have our first pair, Megan and Adrian from Ignitas Party. And we also have Ansh and Mesha as independent candidates running for this role. So, my name is Sabrina and I'll be the moderator for today. To begin with, we'll go over the itinerary. Okay, so there's a slight technical issue, but to begin with, we'll have our introduction, which is taking place right now. Moving forward with opening statement from both pairs of our candidates. After this, there will be a cross-examination session of 10 minutes, whereby the candidates will be able to direct questions at one another in regards to their policies and manifestos. After this, we will follow up with the Q&A from office bearers, and then we'll be able to go to the questions and answers from students. So for students who are watching this live now, you may drop your questions into the comment box below and we will get to them shortly. Before we wrap up, we will also have the closing statement of 2.5 minutes per candidate. After that, before we end today, I will go over the itinerary for day 2 debates. All right, so without further ado, we'll begin with the opening statements. So the order which we'll go in is for Ansh and Mesha. You will go first with your opening statement, followed by Megan and Adrian. Then for closing statement, it will be the other way around. So the floor is yours. Over to you.
Thank you, Sabrina, and hello everyone. I'm Maisha Siraj, one of the female candidates running for the School of Sciences representative, and I'm currently in my second semester of Bachelor's of Medical Bioscience.
And I'm Ansh Parekh, a Year 2 Sem 1 student studying extended biotechnology, and I'm the male candidate.
I have experienced Monash both offline and online, and I would say that it has been a roller coaster of emotions for me. I started off in 2019 as a student in computer science and quickly realized that my true passion lied in science, and I then transferred after one semester. And it was still not very easy. When I transferred to School of Science, I could not attend all week, and I actually had to start off my degree in science without knowing anybody. But because it was face-to-face, it was very easy for me to meet my peers and have online my consultations face-to-face. But that changed very quickly overnight with COVID situation. And as COVID situation unfolded, I had to take a semester. I had to defer one of my semesters, and came back in 2020 semester 2 when I was very, very lost. I did not know how to communicate with my peers, and I did not have any information that was being really directed towards me on Instagram, on any page where I can know if there was a WhatsApp group or anything. And so in semester 2, I spent most of my time studying in dark, without any touch with anybody else in Monash. And then in 2021, things started to actually change for me, and I started engaging in subcoms and everything, and I was reaching out, and I volunteered for all week, and I went for internship sessions, and it was really engaging. But that's when it hit me that there was two very basic problems in our community. That was the transparency of information and a sense of unity in our community. When I talk about transparency of information, I would like to reiterate and elaborate on the lab situation that is taking place currently. Whenever any information was being directed towards us about the lab sessions, it was not very concise and precise, and we wouldn't know if we would be getting any sort of lab replacements or anything of that sort, and the units were not clarified. Second thing is, there's not always because we as the School of Science students, we don't usually we need the unit schedule presented to us beforehand so that we know that, okay, we can make time for this event and that event. So that is very crucial, I think, for us, the transparency of information in that sense. And the third thing I think that we could work in, like, I know that Regal and Isaac did a wonderful job in bridging the gap that in the sense of unity, and I feel like we can do more to reduce this and come together as a whole community and help out one another.
So considering that situation, we would like to go a step further, as in by starting off with providing every student information beforehand about what events and all will be held by the SOS department start of the year, so that students can organize their time and adjust themselves to not miss out any opportunity and attain these events. Industrial experience sessions will also be provided to STEM and non-STEM students, with industry experts and alumni giving their insights as to how students will be allocated and given jobs based on their COVID-19 study experiences. along with information sessions, which will involve alumni giving information regarding how to pass through the School of Science, how to get through some tips and tricks about citations, references, all of which are very important for scientific writing. We would like to keep most of the events held by our predecessors regarding this in the SOS, because they have been very helpful to us in being interactive and meeting our peers. And we would like to keep those in mind and get through this time together as students before anything else. And this is a very difficult time for every student, and we would like to get through this together as one and be able to prepare ourselves for what comes forth. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ansh and Misha, for the opening statement. So we will now move on to the other pair. So Megan and Adrian, over to you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Adrian.
And my name is Megan, and we're both science students majoring in medicinal chemistry.
We are both here today because we want to be your School of Science representative. When we first came into Monash, everything was already conducted through Zoom or Google Meet and all of the other online platforms. We knew nobody and we had to start anew. Meeting people without actually meeting them was difficult. Imagine sitting all alone in your room, staring at the screen all day, and the only interaction you get through the day is with your lecturer. Finding people to befriend with and connect during these times are hard, especially when you're unaware of the ongoings in the School of Science community. Despite the pre-existing WhatsApp announcement group, there still seem to be a number of people who are unaware of its existence. However, we want to change this. We want everyone to feel included and to make student life during this difficult time as fulfilling as possible. So with that, we propose to increase the exposure of SOS initiative and events by promoting and revamping the announcement platform. We want to implement the creation of announcement group in Discord and Telegram and ensure that it is consistently updated. We plan to promote these announcement groups further by plugging in an announcement during workshop at the start of the semester. We could do this by approaching the lecturer and asking for their permission to do so. This way, we reach a wider audience rather than just passively posting the link to join the announcement group on Instagram. In addition to that, we are going to utilize multiple social networking platforms.
Okay, so now I'm sure that some of you might have heard about this quote by Albert Einstein. It says, in theory and practice are the same. In practice, they are not. Basically, to apply theory, we need practice. That is why we want to push for lab substitutions, particularly for the students approaching their final year and have yet to set foot in the labs. In addition to that, we believe that your learning experience could be enhanced further if there was widespread availability of live demonstrations for all lab sessions. Live demonstrations gives us students the opportunity to ask questions and interact with the TAs or professor, and it helps us understand the procedure better. So we want to make this become reality. Other than that, we want to replace or even add to the virtual lab tours to that of the Malaysian campus. Oh, and not to forget, I'm sure that some of us have wanted to attend those alumni talks, career talks, and other possibly beneficial STEM-related events, but maybe we had something important clashing with it at that time. Therefore, instead of just utilizing the Zoom platform, we aim to allow wider flexibility or availability to these events by switching between the various platforms such as IGTV, IG Live, Facebook Live.
And besides that, we feel that the interaction and engagement between the SOS community could still be worked upon. So we are also proposing to organize more non-academic events. If possible, we aspire to collaborate with different clubs to organize fun-filled team events throughout the year. We are very well aware of the large and diverse student community within SOS. Hence, it will be a pleasure for us to cater to all of your interests. We are not just looking to be your representative,
but we also want to be your comrades towards this rocky journey we call university. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, candidates, for your opening statements. So we'll move on to the cross-examination stage. So in this stage, you have 10 minutes to cross-examine one another's policies and manifestos. How this will work is both of you will take turns to direct questions at one another and answer accordingly. Please make sure that it's in regards to clarifications or questions over the policies and manifestos you've provided for both KYC and election guide, rather than on other trivial matters which may not be relevant to the situation. Okay, So without further ado, we'll hand it over. We can start with Megan and Adrian, if you have any questions for the opposition.
Okay, so firstly, in your manifesto, it was stated that you would want to provide a layout for all the events in advance. Could you elaborate further on what you mean by this, and how will you ensure that this will be done efficiently because it caters to all events? Yeah.
Hello, thank you for that question, Megan. And I would really like. I think one thing that we have seen, it's on Instagram right now, that School of Science has provided a layout of the events that have taken place in the past. And usually, what we know is that when you're coming up with events and anything, even if it's a very last moment, you have to discuss it with CNS, or you have to let other bodies know about it. So we do actually have a basic layout of events that may be coming our way, and so that if when we do that, when we have that layout and we give it out to the students, they can actually manage their time, come up with a schedule to attend those things, and it would be more flexible for them to discuss, like, okay, this event is coming up, maybe I should make time for this, or I should make time for the other one. And so that would actually help them be more, they would engage more, it would be more flexible to them, so they would love to engage more. So that is our plan, to have a layout that would help them engage more, because that's what we want. We want a unity, we want community, we want everybody to have the choice to communicate and to engage with us. So that is what we meant when we wanted to give them a layout. And yes, I know there are some issues when there are like sudden events that come up out of the blue, and then you have to manage it. But that you can always publicize if you have all that platforms available that we are also discussing. If you see our manifesto, that we want to engage into a lot more, like just like in your speech, that you want to have all these IGTVs, this and that. We actually mentioned that in our manifestos, that we want more engagement through different platforms, so that people will have a better space for engagement. So for that engagement, as science students, we don't have time. We have very little time management skills. Like I wouldn't say very bad management skill, but we don't have the time to manage our time. So giving people the choice to manage their time is very crucial here. Hope that helps.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm gonna move on to this. Thank you for so much for the clarification, by the way. It was also stated that you would want to have monthly voice at forums. How will you ensure that it's regulated, and will it be anonymous?
Those
Okay.
those monthly forums are organized for students to basically give out any information regarding whatever they've experienced throughout the time in Monash, throughout any units, any issues that they're having. And yes, we would keep them anonymous so that the other students are able to also see and possibly support that statement and not know which student has provided, because some information at times could be sensitive, and we would like to respect that and allow the students to raise their voices without having any second thoughts towards it. And so regarding those, when we will go through those, basically the plan is to go through those ideas and those concerns at the end of each month, and provide a layout of how the major parts of those concerns will be addressed further coming on, and how those issues will be resolved coming on. I hope that helps.
To add on to Anshu's point, I would say that I think one of your question clarified who would be helping us with directing all that concerns to us, like, very smoothly. I would suggest that because Anshu and I are taking in that responsibility, we would ensure that yes, we are actually going through it very smoothly. And we would also, like, every time when you are in the office, you do have help and support from your subcom. So we would make sure that there's a position, or we either a position, or give a person with a position and ask them that, are you willing to scan through these concerns along with us, so that there's a smooth transition from monthly to monthly. Because I think, like the SSLC focus group, it's like either in the middle of the week or it's towards the end. Or so I think, if you give students the opportunity to voice out their opinions when the matter is at hand, then it helps them, to reduce their stress, help them manage that one important thing, that stress that they're feeling at that moment. So that actually helps, even if it means that it's gonna proceed towards the end of the month or in the middle, because like scanning through those emails would take at least a weekly kind of a effort. So I think, yeah, if we are going to take the position, if we are given the chance to take a position, we have to take responsibility, and we are willing to take that responsibility. I hope this helps.
All right, thank you, candidates. So please be reminded that you're meant to ask questions one by one, not to follow up consecutively. So with that, For Meisha and Ansh, you may ask 2 questions before we go back to the order that we've set. And do take note that as pairs, you may choose to have 1 minute of thinking time or discussion time before you answer directly. All right, so over to you, Meisha and Ansh, for any questions you may have to Megan and Adrian.
Hi, Megan and Adrian. So my first question from me would be, all of you were more engaged in the. Sorry, let me just take a second from here. Just take a step back here. So my question would be, why do you feel the need that we need a virtual layout of our lab sessions given to the students, rather than just, and what do you mean by you want to engage more Malaysian lab experience by virtual tour of the lab? I would like if you could elaborate on that. Thank you.
Basically, in some units, they make us do this virtual lab tour of Australian campus. But because we are Malaysian campus Monash students, shouldn't we be given the
choice
Choice
to
to-
pick whether we are looking at the lab where we'll be studying at, which is the Monash campus instead of the Australian campus? Because what's the point if we are looking at the Australian campus, but we are Malaysian students, So that's something we want to push forward for.
so some students could gain like more familiarity with the labs in Malaysia, so they won't be completely foreign to the idea of the labs here. Yeah, so that's
Follow-up question, because I'm a senior who has actually been to the labs in Monash, Malaysia. They don't differ much from Monash, Australia, except for the layout. But I think that in terms of the lab situation in Australia, they have more not experts, but their technology is more advanced, I would say, from compared to Malaysia, and also the way they do. And I think they wanted to make it feel like a whole experience. So given this statement, why do you still think there's a need for extra virtual hub for, wouldn't you feel like the lab session could be more interactive in other ways rather than having a virtual tour of a lab that's more or less similar to Australia campus? Thank you.
So basically, so personally, you have been on campus before, but then there are still some students who have not been on campus. They would not know how the labs are like, what equipments there are, and how the layout is like. So it's also for safety and for interactiveness. Not only that, in our manifesto, we did say that we want to involve lab substitutions and live demonstrations as well. So it's not just the virtual lab tour, it's an aspect of multiple things coming together at once. Yeah, that's what we want.
All right, thank you for your answers. So to the audience, just a reminder, if you have any questions or clarifications you'd like to seek to any of the answers the candidates have given or in regards to their policies and manifestos, please feel free to drop it into the comments as we go along. So now just to clarify the flow again, for Meisha, Meisha and Ansh, you may direct one more question to Megan and Adrian before it's back to them. All right?
Ansh, would you like to take it away?
Yeah, I have one last question for Megan and Adrian, regarding the industrial experts and the events that is mentioned in your manifesto that you'll be organizing to meet experts and alumni and give information to the students regarding the whole situation about the STEM students and everything. I was wondering, what about the non-STEM students and the other departments that don't fall under the STEM session, and how those industrial experts, how will you go about that situation? A little elaboration, please. Thank you.
Okay, so firstly, we want to prioritize STEM first because our priority is the School of Science student, which is centralized around STEM. But we won't completely ignore the fact that we there are some students who might want to dabble a bit on the non-STEM field. So we would also include those events. It's just that we couldn't elaborate as much in the manifesto. But yeah, we also want to include that, especially like right now there's also an event where it's collaborated with School of Business and School of Science. And we want to have that as well. Yeah. So thank you.
All right. So to both parties, you may direct one more question for each other respectively in regards to any questions for manifesto or policy. Over to you, Megan and Adrian.
Yeah. So this is regarding the forum you guys were planning to have. If it is anonymous, how would you regulate it? Because if a student were to say something obscene or offensive, you would not be able to confront them as you would be unaware of their identity. So in that sense, how will you regulate the forum? Because guidelines would not be enough to stop these people from saying such things online when their identities are covered. Yeah.
Thank you, Adrian and Megan. I think when my fellow partner said anonymity is because he said that in the sense that if a person chooses to be anonymous, because usually when you get these forms, you do have to still use your Google account, right? So you do get some sort of background information. It's just like when the information you're being directed towards you, it's in that sense like they get, first of all, they get to choose if we want to publicize that this came from that person, because that's the part of the anonymity that we're talking about. The second thing is when you do fulfill up this Google forms or any kind of forms, you do kind of need some sort of like, you need a registered Google account from Monash. So I think that would answer it. And I think I would like to apologize that we didn't direct it very the anonymity, we didn't direct it very clearly that what we meant by that. We meant by that we give people the option for that. I hope this helps.
All right. So for Meisha and Ansh, do you have any further questions for Megan and Adrian?
I would like to go if that's okay. Okay, Adrian and Megan. So what my fellow partner was asking about was the non-STEM and STEM. My concern is that we are in a situation which is very dire, and people are learning, especially science students. We're learning in a environment that is not catered to our needs. You know, we are not getting lab exposures and everything, and a lot of us are on our like last semester to graduate and probably might not be going back to campus to get that experience, because I have actually had friends who graduated with no third year lab experience and everything. So if from a perspective, you're in a power for example, you're given you're given the position, you're given the power to hold office. What kind of networks would you pull in to give a sense of comfort to the students that the industry knows that this is happening and these are the solutions? Like, do you plan on giving out these kind of solutions?
Hi, can we clarify the question first? Is it whether you're asking us to how will we push for lab substitutions?
No, I'm saying that how when you do hold up an alumni, because when your alumni is coming in, they're giving the perspective of a different time when they had lab experiences and everything. How would you make that more suitable to the needs of the students who are attending these talks who have no prior lab experience or anything? Because I understand like both our manifestos actually contribute to the fact that we both want to push for lab substitution, any kind of unit that would just be like handling students who get a basic idea about labs and everything, even if it means they're not covering the whole lab experience. They get the basic, how to utilize like hold a test tube, for example, or how to use the centrifuge or something, or do the DNA analysis, like all these things, like just have a basic unit for that. Like we can push for that, whether whoever gets the office. But I'm saying that how would you cater the alumni talk to their needs, given that they have no prior lab experience or don't know how they will go into the industry without any experience?
So it's very much impossible for alumni to be giving like a physical experience or like share their physical experience with the student. So the most they can do is most probably share how the experience would be like, their insight when they were on campus and everything. And yeah, that's all. Do you have anything to add?
No, not at the moment. Yeah.
But yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you to both pairs. So that will bring us to an end for the cross-examination session. So moving forward, we'll be having the Q&A with the current office bearers. So today we have here with us Regal and Isaac, who are the current School of Science representatives. So for this session, there will be 20 minutes of Q&A from the current office bearers to the candidates. So please be reminded you may direct questions to a specific pair as well as to both. So make sure you're clear in that and make sure to balance out the questions. In the meantime, for the audience, do remember that you have the opportunity to ask your questions as well. So do drop it in the comments, and we are expected to end later than expected. So just take note on that. All right, over to you, Isaac and Regal.
All right, so first I would like to thank all the candidates for their opening statements on behalf of Rachel and I. And also good job for all the candidates for coming out here, and doing this. I know it's been quite tough, have to balance schoolwork and all that. And also thank you to all the students, and not just the SOF students, of course, like everyone who came up here to just show their support today. Honestly, it means a lot to us. And obviously, we are your representatives, right? So first off, I would like to start off with like a simple question for all the candidates. So after listening to your opening statements, right, and looking through your manifestos, could you like reiterate or reframe to us like what your highest priority is for being an SOS representative?
If you don't mind, can I go first?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Oh, hi. Thank you, Isaac. Thank you, Regal, for being here. And thank you for the question. I think the first and most important role for any school of representative is that you be the voice. You be the voice of the students. You hear them out, you discuss it with them, and then you delegate. Delegation is the key here, that you delegate their concerns. You try to come up with solutions. You need that, you feel the need that this is your responsibility and you have to do it to your best abilities. And Anshu, would you like to take it away, or Adrian or Megan?
Yeah, so continuing on that point, the main idea or the main priority here should be to not only provide the students with the labs and all the other requirements which are held back from them considering the situation, but to hear any other concerns, basically have a very clear bridge between the representatives and the students, so it's easier for them to provide any of their perspectives, their thoughts, their ideas, whatever brainstorming that the students are doing, so that the representatives can provide more to the students and provide more opportunities and more ideas to the students as well. So that cross section between the students, that was the main priority that we hold.
Okay, so our main focus for the upcoming year will be to push for lab tours of the Malaysian campus and to include live demonstration for all science units that include laboratory session. We want to enhance the virtual learning experience for students and to allow an easy potential transition from virtual to physical learning. We will also advocate for the substitution of lab session, particularly for the students approaching for their final year, as we believe that theory without practice is incomplete.
Besides that, we aim to broaden the exposure of SOS initiatives and events overall by promoting the announcement groups at the start of semester, during tutorials. We also want to implement the creation of announcement groups on both Discord or either Telegram, in addition to the pre-existing WhatsApp group. This is to ensure that information regarding all the ongoings of the whole SOS community is made accessible to every single person and that everyone is kept updated. Yes, okay, yeah.
Thank you. Okay, thank you guys. So yeah, both of you have, or both pairs of candidates have briefly touched upon, some bits and pieces of their manifestos, and we'll get right to the questions afterwards for your manifestos. I have a general question also for all candidates today. So from your speeches as well as your cross-examinations, you've briefly touched upon what you think is lacking within the SOS community, correct? We appreciate that all candidates are currently not part of the MUSA SOS team, but from your point of view, what are some areas that you believe could be improved by the current MUSA SOS team? And how would you have done differently in order to address these issues?
Yep. So in the meantime, as Megan and Adrian are discussing, a reminder, if you have any questions, you may add it to the comments. Do note that if there is an overwhelming number of questions, that we may not be able to answer all, so you can also add it to the KYC on the official MUSA page. All right. So Megan and Adrian, when you're ready, over to you.
Okay, so basically, what I have noticed that lacks around the SOS community is participation in events. So I think it's because the events are not catered to every single person's interest. So I think what could be made better is that fun-filled themed events, depending on the interest of the SOS community, should be catered. Should be created, and it should be catered towards a wide range of audiences. It could be like multiple different events at different times. Not all at once. Yeah, something like that.
Okay, something I would like to add on is that the participation rate is kind of low because I feel like students are very shy. They're not eager to join events. And as SOS Rep, I feel like we can make a personal touch to this by having a one-on-one conversation, maybe like just stand out and like talk to people personally and like make them feel much more comfortable how they feel about being in the science or the science community and make them much more brave to join. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Our perspective to this question is to first of all have this sense of transparency between the students and the SOS department by allowing students to understand the ways in which we follow through on their questions, because a lot of times students are not able to understand why sometimes it takes a long time to get to their questions or get to their needs or concerns as such. So first of all, we'd like to tell them how we operate in SOS and how the whole procedure follows through. So transparency. Along with that, of course, we'll try to provide them with a sense of community by addressing to them as to how we're going to manage interactive sessions and events where they are able to participate with free will and not to be, and to provide them the sense of motivation from our side to be more engaging, to be open, to not fear any situation that comes to them, and to open themselves and provide their perspectives to every student that comes along with it. And following to that, participation rate will possibly, we hope, will go up due to the motivation given to them. And yeah, that's some of the things we would take up.
Thank you, Ansh. To add on to that, I think the three things that we would like to work on is, the first thing is that I like all the ideas that Isaac and Regal had implemented last semester, coming up with procrastination game, drink your water and all. I think this is what we need. We need like small interactive kind of games that, students can take out little time from their busy schedules to, participate in them. And, every time when you participate, you feel like you're engaging in your community. And I think the reason why some of these things were left behind a bit was because communication channels again. So I think the first thing we should be fixing, that if we get the chance, would be fixing the communication channels and bettering them and having a plethora of channels that we can communicate with students, because a lot of students are very old school. They use emails or they just go to spam. Some just use phone numbers. They use WhatsApp. A lot of people use Instagram. A lot of people don't use Instagram. Some people use Facebook. And I think that is something that we haven't considered yet. Facebook is something that a lot of students do use, but that is not being utilized to its full potential. And Discord and all this. So it has to be a very strategic approach to how we enhance the communication channels. Second thing is like the interaction is like to start off with small things, come up with a layout, start out with small games, and then build up from there to, getting them to, first you get them to smaller events, then you get them to bigger events, and then you get them to motivate them to engage more and communicate more with their community. Because I am seeing this change. We're actually seeing this change, and we can push it a bit more forward. And the last and most important thing is transparency. I think we need to work on how we can get lab substitution. We need to work on that when information is being directed to us, it is concise and clear, and it has the exact words that we're searching for, and concerns of students should be heard. So these are the things that needs improvement. We need to start small, but we need to start with concrete and very specific ideas, so that there's engagement, there's transparency, and then overall everybody feels that they're a part of a community. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for all the very valuable feedback. I think Isaac and I don't disagree with anything that you said, all of you said. I'm very happy to see that all of you are very passionate about the role. I do have a follow-up regarding the question I've just put in front of you today. Seeing that what you've relayed to me, these are areas of concern for you, right? So why do you think students such as yourself have not really felt comfortable enough and have not been keen in approaching any member of the MUSA SOS team to relay such feedback?
Thank you, Regal, for that question. I think as a student who has done that in semester 2, it's because I think the situation itself has always been that students, they're too lost. We're too lost. We don't know where to find. I think getting to that situation where you want to engage in everything, it's a whole decision that you have to take and compromise with your timing and everything. And then also you have to be something that intrigues you. That is something that, we as, if given the opportunity as representative, have to create that intrigue in that person. And I think that is a very difficult task to do. And also that I think as students in science, it's really hard to manage your time. It's really hard to navigate yourself. And I think it's not even just being a student in science, it's just navigating through life itself, that you have to make compromises. You have to, push yourself forward to engaging anything. And I think that push, I think a lot of students, they're getting there, but they need a bit more push. And I think that's the push that we need to give them. I think they're getting there, but they need that a bit more of a nudge. And I hope if Ansh has anything else to add before handing it over to Adrian and
Nothing
Megan.
to add. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so firstly, I feel the reason why students have a hard time approaching the reps and maybe the subcoms is because maybe we feel as though the reps are of a higher position instead of a friend or an equal. Because personally, I didn't have that much interaction with you guys as well. So yeah, so maybe it's better if the image of the reps were made to be seen as our friends instead of our leader. Because there's a difference between someone who's leading, and then some people might feel intimidated or too shy, which Adrian would like to add upon.
Okay, so I would like to say how during this pandemic, we have really heavy effects, like everyone's personality, how people have changed. So I was actually one of those really shy people who have not joined any school events before during this time, the first semester or the second. A lot have changed on myself and how I become more secluded from like school and friends. So based on this experience, I would like to take the opportunity to change that and help other students, as I believe I was not the only one who probably missed out on school events. I know that we could change this by personally interacting and asking people about their well-being, how they feel about things, about uni, just by talking to them one by one, And because this is how I made friends through uni. And through that, I realized I'm not alone in this journey, as many more have experienced the same thing.
Yeah. So if as SOS rep we could give more interaction, personal interaction to the student body, it would make the students very much motivated to come to an event where they feel like they have a friend there. Yeah, so that's our opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, thank you for your response, guys. And now I would like to direct a question towards Adrian and Megan. So basically, you in your manifesto, right? You mentioned unity through leisure. So could you expand a bit more on how you increase the exposure of MUSA SOS organized events, seeing as the current promotional materials include student emails, Instagram, and announcement groups?
Okay, so firstly, this is our idea for announcements, little announcements for our announcement groups through the start of the workshops, or like, at the start of the SEMs before they start their lessons. Maybe we could give out an announcement, and maybe we could also increase the exposure of some events by approaching lecturers and maybe possibly asking them, oh, is it all right if we make a short announcement? It wouldn't hurt. It doesn't take up too much time as well if we keep it short and simple. And yeah, there are multiple kinds of events that could be planned as well. So there are a lot of themes. For example, you could do a game night, which is like loosely based around Family Feud, for example, or you could do some Halloween themed event, for example, to get students, participating. Little events. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you guys. So our next question is for Maisha and Ansh. So we'd like to start by saying that while we 100% agree that the transparency of information is very, very key in building a strong relationship between the students as well as their student representatives, right? But how do you plan on releasing information on items such as updates on campus access, as mentioned in your manifesto, when this information is historically not provided to MUSA before any official announcements through the Monash student email?
Hi, Rickle. I knew you were going to direct that question to me, and I was hoping you do. I did realize that, but I do realize that I've heard about it, and I would like to, I'm sorry if I'm making a mistake. Even after the emails are being released, right? I think that is something I have heard, that the School of Science representative, they do meet up with the education board or with the teachers and students, and you do have a sense of a communication. And I know they don't release that information directly to you, but my stress here, my main concern over here would be like to ask them basically to get that information, even if it means the slightest of amount, so that I can delegate that back to the students, so that when whatever communication, even if we are kept in the dark, I want the students to know that, okay, we are also being kept in the dark, because I think that is something that was not being directed, that whatever was happening a bit behind the scenes, that was not being actually told to the students. It was just like going around, like like somebody knew, somebody didn't know. So that is what it is. I hope that helps. Thank you.
Yeah, that makes it very clear. Thank you, Maisha. And I guess I'll jump back to Adrian and Megan. I have another question. So during your speeches, you've explained very clearly your plans for pushing for lab substitutions, right? So with the knowledge that the SOS staff have had plans in 2020 until now, and are still continually making plans for the substitution or replacement of labs since the start of the pandemic, in what ways do you plan on further advocating for these substitution sessions, which you will believe to accelerate their implementation?
Okay, so firstly, I think because now vaccination rates are increasing across Malaysia, what we could do is we could also obtain data to get a sensing of the number of fully vaccinated students, then conduct meetings with the head of school to relay this information. And Adrian would add some.
Furthermore, we can collect feedback from students and compile a number of signatures to make it like a petition and officialize it within an email and bring towards the issue to our head of school. Yeah, thank you.
All right. So thank you. And actually, we would like to direct one more. So we commend your ideas and initiatives that you would like to take with the Discord groups, right? Oh wait, this is by the way for Adrian and Megan again. Yeah. So yeah, we would like to commend your ideas and initiatives with the Discord groups and stuff. And the innovation is needed in terms of communicating with students, right? But considering that other clubs and other schools, such as School of Business, maybe School of IT, have tried to execute such platforms that have seen low engagement rate at times, and usually don't really last very long in these Discord servers. So how will the SOS potential for Discord servers have a different outcome this time?
Okay, so personally, because if you're the SOS rep, you have a group of subcommittee members, right? So I personally feel that there is no harms in taking turns, the subcoms, in between the subcoms or the reps themselves, to initiate conversations in the Discord amongst amongst the students who are participating in this channel. And maybe you could include study channels, those study voice channels in the Discord. So it allows the students to create interactions, and it wouldn't be harmful for us or the subcoms, possibly subcoms, to initiate any form of interaction with the students. It could be little, but it could change a person's day. Yeah.
All right, thank you. I think that's all, right?
All right. With that, that will be the end of the Q&A session with Office Bearers. So thank you, Office Bearers, for all your insightful questions, as well as candidates for providing the necessary answers. So moving on, we'll be going to the Q&A from the audience. So as mentioned, due to the number of questions rolling in, your question may not have been selected. So if that was the case at the end, you may choose to drop your questions on the manifestos on the official MUSA Instagram page. Also, just for everyone to take note, there has been a slight delay, so we are expected to end around 9:20, inclusive of the closing statements. Okay, without further ado, we'll move on to the first question from the audience. So from Michelle, I would like to ask all candidates, what would be your approach towards units with complaints regarding no live classes, excessive workloads, and lecturers refusing to clarify contents? So to begin with, we'll have Meisha and Ansh, followed by Megan and Adrian, then alternatively for the following questions. Over to you. All right. In the meantime, as they're discussing, you may also continue to drop any questions that you may have into the chat. So once Meisha and Ansh, you're ready, you may begin.
Thank you so much, Michelle, for these questions. Before I do get in, I think this is a situation that is unprecedented, and we are living in a very dire situation, and COVID is not going away. I'm very sad to say, not anytime soon. And so we have to be more sensitive towards each other's concerns. And I completely understand that, like, this semester has been a lot, and I can't understand. I don't even have time to breathe, and so I completely relate with you, agree with you. I think regarding the no live classes, I think the reason why some classes, which I cannot guarantee with you, but some are no live classes, from what my understanding is that a lot of students are international students as well, so that those classes are pre-recorded for their benefit and everything. And then the lecturers have allocated consultation time. So if you viewed those lectures, you can go back and speak to them. And I hope this actually helps with you. So live classes, I know, are more interactive. They talk more to you. You can solve your situation or your problems or anything right on spot, and that is great. But I think but like I said, it's a unprecedented time, and a lot of students cannot actually. Sometimes some students are having to view a class at 3 a.m. in the morning, and we're here in Malaysia watching it at 8 a.m. So I think because of those reasons, there are some units don't have live classes, and I hope this helped. As for the excessive workload, yes, this is something that I think I would like to give an example from our situation. So one of my units, they had a lab report, labtorial that that was being submitted right after the lab within 12 hours. And when the students came together and started emailing all the professors, what happened is, like, when there's a unity amongst the students, which there was in this case, we spoke to the lecturer, and then he extended a time limit for us to be submitting those things. So the excessive workload can be could be reduced by coming together as a group or anything. So that is what we are actually promoting, that we come together, you come to us, or you form a unity between your own members, and we talk to the lecturers, we email him, and we explain him the situation, so that the workload, we are in science, we're doing a degree, the workload is going to be there. I'm so sorry, but yes, we can actually ask the lecturers to help us reduce it and pace it. There's a pace so that we can go with the pace, so that would help. So this is what we would do: communicate, come together as a group, so that when a lot of students come together and they make that complaint along with other representatives, it has more weight to it, so it actually helps, like how it helped in my situation. And lecturers refusing to clarify contents, that is something actually that is not in my hand, which is something we can take it up with the head of education. We can take it up with that why a lecturer, if given that a lot of students are complaining against this one particular lecturer, yes, we can come together, form a complaint, make sure that your concerns are heard, because that is what our job is to delegate solutions. And I think that all these solutions are in with one approach, and that is when a lot of students come together with the same concerns and everything, that is when a solution is reached. So thank you for voicing this out, and I hope what I said helped, and thank you. And Ansh, if you would like to add in something else.
Nothing else to add. All points were covered. Thank you so much.
Right,
Okay.
over to Megan and Adrian. Yeah.
Yeah. So firstly, we'd like to gather additional information regarding the issue, whether it's through word of mouth or Google Forum. If it's specific to a unit, we would like to obtain as much feedback from the unit group, and we would like to amplify the complaint if the concern is deeply serious among the students. And then from this, we'll bring forward to the head of school of science or relevant academic staff, because it's not only affecting one student, but affecting the whole community.
In the unit group. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for your answers, candidates. I hope that has answered the question. So for the following question, I have noticed a bit of similarity between a few, so I will be combining it. So please take note of the full question. So from Choi Yang, I have a question to both candidates. Since you both mentioned your stance on the School of Science lab replacements and will voice up your concerns regarding lack of hands-on experience, could you further elaborate on how this will be carried out? Choi Yang has also provided a few suggestions on whether or not these will be the way forward. Additionally, there was also a question from Z, which also mentioned what will you do if the school denies these requests? So you may choose to answer both of this as one answer. All right, so we'll begin with Megan and Adrian.
Basically, if we get I can't see. If the school denies of the lab replacement, we'll try to push forward and then try to gain updates regarding the situation, the current situation, and we will try to make it more aware. We want the academic staff to be more aware that there are actually a number of fully vaccinated individuals, and with the right SOPs and strict SOPs ensured, we could provide a safe environment for these students that require lab replacements. An alternative would be the live demonstrations, because it is really necessary, and live demonstrations will help you seniors interact with the TAs and the professors and obtain questions, answers. Yeah, so basically there's that. Okay. I think that's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For the question, what I would like to put in is that I have seen this in many other universities and schools being used at this point in time. They are using online softwares and methods where students are able to have the virtual experience, and more as in they are the ones conducting the experiments, but as in virtually. So this would provide some like a middle ground between not having to just watch the experts perform the experiments or being able to go to the lab. So this will be more of a virtual hands-on lab experience. So that is something that we can place in this situation using those virtual softwares and providing the students with at least something compared to not only being able to watch the experiment. And further on, we would also provide information to the education department regarding the vaccination of the students and how the numbers are coming up, so that further prospects and further information can be seen and analyzed to understand how students will be able to come back to lab and to strategize as to which units or which laboratorials are more safe to bring in students. Similarly, as it was done last year when some of the chemistry lab students were allowed for a singular session towards the end of the semester.
Can I take in from here? Yeah. Okay, so what Ansh was actually trying to say here, and I would like to clarify it a bit better so that it helps Chu Young Mok to understand this better. So what my partner just said was if there was some sort of, like, for example, there's like an influx, because there's so many units that needs lab replacements. So if there's an influx, for example, and there's a solution to all the influx, like, we would delegate a substitution lab for sure. And even if it's denied, we would make sure that whichever is like a second year or third year where it's really, really important for the hands-on, we would push it to our best abilities that there is some sort of unit that is a lab replacement. But for example, the things that are not possible to be replaced, we would suggest also a alternative, that is the virtual experience that you do perform by yourself by these softwares and everything, so that once you do get the opportunity to go back to campus, you do get both, the basics, and then now you are doing a hands-on life experience. So that is what my partner was saying. Second of all, for the petitions and everything, like I said, because I think this spread like a wildfire, that they know, and we all know that we all science students, we want to get back on campus for labs. We do want to get back. It is out there. Everybody knows there. And if they need more concrete proof, yes, we will come up with petitions if required. So, because I feel like this is already there, and we would be trying to communicate with them more directly. And like how Isaac and Regal, I told them that the information doesn't get released to you. You do get a chance to go to speak to them, but that's what I'm saying, the transparency, like how whatever is being directed, we tell them, and whatever requires of it, a petition or whatever, we do it so we can delegate solutions. And we would try to come up with alternative solutions so that people at least have something on hand. I hope this helps. Thank you.
All right, candidates, thank you for your answers. So moving forward, we have one question directed to all candidates from Jesse. So what do you think created the difference in participation rate in activities between pre-MCO and the current situation, and how would you mend it? So Ansh and Mesha, you may take this question first.
Thank you so much, Jesse. I think the difference okay, this is something which I have seen on campus. So what happens is like there's this whole fair, like ECE fair, and there are people, registering, they're signing in and everything. So there's like it is a very vibrant kind of a situation. So people actually know how they want to participate and everything. So that is the thing. So the participation rate, people are calling them in, they're telling like, come and join us. So, there's like a whole different vibe. So before that, the rate of participation, even if people would sign up, it would still be low because, time management, everything, but people would sign up, and then if they could, they would make it. And so the participation was there, and there was like a lot of things happening. There was like food fairs, this fair, that. So there was like a lot of participation. And right now the situation is like people are literally sitting in front of their laptops in their home, in their house, in the comfort from their house, and they're just like, you're doing work at home, you're doing this and that, and you really don't have time. So I think one of the thing that for the mending the current situation would be that you intrigue, you start small, and then you build up, and you get people's interest, you hear them out, and then build up more events based on their needs and situation, so that this would actually, like for example, they need this or that, so then that would help them out. I hope that answers your question.
So to slightly elaborate on that point, the difference maker was actually the mindset of the students, because during the time of July in the end of semesters of 2020, when the situation was still new, students were actually not able to, were very sad because of the situation. They were mentally bumped down due to the non-access of the campus and the situation, and the whole virtual access and everything was fairly just coming up, building up, and developing towards the students. So now that it has been some time since then, students have adapted to the time management system at their homes, and they've adapted to how they want to participate in those events. So this comfortness that they've brought in with the online schooling has brought them to participate in events, because they know that's one way they can encourage themselves and motivate themselves into making something of the time they have with themselves at this point. Thank you.
All right, over to you, Megan and Adrian.
Okay, so what have been really affected the participation rate is that during this pandemic, it really heavily affected a lot of people, especially their mental health. And due to this, they have a lack of support system and feeling distance, because staring at the screen so long and so lonely, being boxed in a room, and it's hard to feel connected through a screen. So with this, This is why we want to heavily emphasis on us being student rep. We'll have a much more personal touch to the student body by talking to them one by one or just asking them how their day are. Furthermore, we can also add like incentive or like what currently the student rep have been doing, like promoting grant vouchers and everything. And this is really show a better participation rate within our friends and communities.
Oh yeah, and if I might add on, you could provide this initiative where if you bring friends, you're applicable to win a prize or a lucky draw. So in that sense, maybe you try to put in more effort to bring your friends along, whether it be a friend of a friend, or a stranger possibly, just to win the prize, and it create more interaction between the student body, and you can have a greater reach. Thank you.
All right, thank you, candidates. So moving forward, we'll be going to a question addressed just towards Meisha and Anj. So in your manifesto, you mentioned that you want to give more clarity on the academic structure to help students prepare for a successful academic year. Could you elaborate on that? How would it differ from what the current SOS staff is doing?
Thank you, Nayab Siddiqui, for directing that question for us. Okay, so if you have been to classes and everything, and after a submission of a report, you would see I think all the classes I've been since year 1 till now, all the lecturers have been said that your format is not right, your references are wrong. Every single class that I have, I'm not sure about if you guys have, but every single class, and I mean year 2, semester 2 now, I still keep hearing them, your references are wrong, your style is wrong, there's this particular thing that you missed out and everything. And I think in this case, you need seniors' perspective, you need the reference. So here's something that I need to clarify. In School of Business, School of IT, and I think every school has a different referencing style. And I think library covers every single one of them. But I would like to reiterate that if given a chance, we would like to hold a workshop where, like seniors who have experience with lab reports and did really well, or seniors who just have, made mistakes and they know they learned from that mistakes, they can tell you, and then it helps you with your lab reports and everything. Then, for example, because like you have to understand the current SOS staff, what happens is like they also have a very big workload. They're doing their best to delegate. Everyone's doing their best to delegate, and information gets lost in the process. So when you have like students who are going through what you're going through, and they have learned from their mistakes, and library staffs are actually directing the information that is particularly required of you, not something that they have to in general tell everybody. So then you also get this, I know you also get this Q&A session with the library staff where you ask them, well, how you do this or how you do that. But just imagine if you're in a smaller group and there's like a group of people who really, really want to know, then you actually get a more personal experience. You get to actually learn from your mistakes. You get to learn from the people who learned from their mistakes. So this is what we want to work on. We want to give people the chance to learn from other people's mistakes and to better themselves. And we would actually like to, and this would also help, to form a sense of community and helping one another and everything, and a source of engagement. So I hope that helps. Anj, do you want to add anything else?
Yeah, to that point, I would like to add is that usually this is what I've experienced from a long time. I'm in year 2, semester 1 now. Students usually, when such in workshops and events have been held in larger groups, they tend to hesitate twice or thrice in asking any form of question that they wish to put forward, thinking about what judgment they'll get from students or the person presenting, or any sort of anxieties that come up. So I myself have been more better available to give out questions and ask whatever I want to ask in smaller groups, because people are more engaging and the lecturer is able to answer my questions clearly. So such sessions, when done with alumni, have alumni or seniors, makes it more relatable to the students, because seniors or juniors are like the difference is just as in they were students, they can understand what the other student is feeling, what they're going through. So I think that sense of relativity between them is very important in this case. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your responses. So due to time constraints, we'll only be having one final question directed to both candidates. So I've screened through the questions, and there are a lot of similarities between quite a lot of them. So the final question would be a summary of that. With that being said, the final question is, a lot of the methods or a lot of what you have proposed in terms of your action steps for both candidates are steps or methodologies that have already been tried and tested, be it for engagement or for appealing for lab replacement, so on and so forth. So in this case, what is one unique or different method that you would like to propose in order to move forward from this situation and to ensure outcome which both or all parties can be satisfied with? So for this, Megan and Adrian may take the lead, and followed by Misha and Ansh.
Okay, so some unique initiatives we want to take. It's really short and simple, but these are the two main points. Firstly, because now the country is, like what I said, it's experienced a greater vaccination rate, which was not seen in the previous semester and last year as well, because vaccinations are available right now throughout Malaysia. Hence, we would want to propose having feedback and having a sensing of how many fully vaccinated individuals, and hoping this could possibly change the regulations for lab substitutions for seniors a bit. And we want to also ensure like strict SOPs are implemented, and we could work our way around that. And not only that, for to increase participation in events, our idea is to give an initiative for students to invite their friends. So a friend of a friend, or maybe a stranger. If you invite a friend, you're eligible for a prize. So maybe this will get friends to invite their friends and increase participation rates across the School of Science events. Yeah, thank you.
To answer that question, I would go by to say that at this time, as we have seen, usually there are certain channels that the SOS has used to communicate to the students, which are based upon the majority of the students being in those sectors. But to advance to move towards every student that is present in the SOS, what we opt to do is we opt to ask students themselves, as in to give us their perspectives as well, and to combine our ideas with theirs to provide something which is in the middle ground, so that every student has approved of it, every student likes that idea. So the first thing would be to ask their perspectives to it. And secondly, adding to that would be, of course, the COVID-19 situation and the follow-up of the rules and regulations that have been put in place. But students at this time are not able to communicate as much with their friends and peers due to the distancing between them. So what I would suggest is the students, of course, the incentive of bringing friends and having the prize pools and everything, but usually students are not really engaged by that in my perspective. But to bring those students in and to ask them, to concern with them as to what their perspectives are and what they wish to do, and to motivate them to join us on every single channel possible, so that they are able to communicate us as students, either ask questions about units, content, anything, everything that they wish to ask, so that we can help them on these sectors. And I think though that interaction, as it increases, would allow students to tell their peers that the interaction is, it's okay to talk to the SOS reps, is no problem, like, it's fine. So I think that would help a lot further on. Thank you.
All right.
To wrap it up, I'm sorry, Sabrina. To wrap it up, what Ansh is actually trying to say is that I will reiterate his 2 points. One is that we ask students and we take on the majority of communication channels that people are more familiar with or people are more comfortable using, and try to communicate with those channels, and also keeping more options available so that everybody has a fair chance of using those channels. And the second thing is as we hear them out, what they want and what they need and what their perspective and ideas are. Because I feel like we are actually giving them the layout, and we're not asking from them what they want from us. And I think that is more important, that we give them the layout, we start off with small things, and then we hear them out, and then we implement. So that is the basic idea. And I'm so sorry, and thank you.
All right. Thank you to all candidates for your answers, and to our audience for all the questions that have been asked. So if, once again, if it hasn't been selected, You may choose to drop it on the manifestos on the official MUSA Instagram page, and the candidates will be answering them accordingly. You may also reach them via their social media platforms. So to close the session, we'll have the final closing statement from both candidates. Please be reminded that you have 2.5 minutes each. As Meisha and Ansh started off the opening statement, Megan and Adrian will get to start first for this session. All right, over to you.
We would like to thank the students and other people who are watching this debate. We also like to thank Sabrina, Rachel, and Isaac, Maisha, and Anash for joining us for tonight. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. And basically, thank you for this opportunity. Props to everyone handling the election. And as your rep, we really heavily emphasize on your well-being and concern, especially during this time of the pandemic. So we really want to help anyone we can by doing our utmost by providing the necessary care and steps. So thank you. Do it for us.
Do it for us. Thank you.
Before I start, thank you everyone. Thank you the election committee for giving us this opportunity. Thank you our current SOS reps, Isaac and Regal. Thank you Sabrina, Anmol, and Stella. And thank you for all the students for joining us today on this debate and opening up your concerns to us. And thank you so much for this. Was a very helpful feedback. And I would like to reiterate that if you guys have any more questions, feel free to please drop it off to us, and I would like to handle it one by one, because I'm taking this if I'm given this responsibility, I actually want to start from the beginning and start answering your questions and learning from before the job that okay, this is the concern, this is what is happening. So I would really love to handle all your questions. You could just drop it off in our Instagram, or if you know my WhatsApp, you can WhatsApp me. And before we end, thank you. So I would like to reiterate our manifesto, that is, we would like to give you people as much of a best experience in university as we can, and we would work to delegate your solutions. We want to hear you out, we want to delegate your solutions, and we want to work for you and with you as a community. So thank you so much. Ansh, take it away.
Yeah, so to elaborate on that, it's all very simple to the students. It is more like we are as students first before we are any of the leaders or candidates. We are just same as you, regular people who would like to help you out and support with the resources that we might have at hand if we are selected. So that's all. Just reach out to us, just talk to us. There's no bridging, no boundary. It'll be very simple and safe. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for the wonderful closing statements and speeches. So this brings us to the end of today's session for the School of Science representatives, as well as the end of day one for the debate series. So thank you to all our candidates, as well as office bearers and audience who have attended throughout the whole day. And we really appreciate that. So before you leave and before we close off for the day, I would just like to remind that as tomorrow is a public holiday, day 2 of debates will be taking place on the 1st of September, which is this Wednesday. And we'll be having 4 debate series on that day, which are the MUS activities, MUS treasure, MUS welfare, as well as MUS publicity, respectively, in that order. So for more details, you may keep an eye out for the Instagram stories that will be posted on the official MUSA Instagram page to get access to the links. And really looking forward to continue to see everyone's support as well as questions. And yeah, that brings us to an end of today. Thank you, everyone. Take care, stay safe, and good night.